Alabama legislature, where lawmakers are wrapping up the final day of the 2012 regular legislative session. And on this final day, there is still a lot of work to be done, including approval of the education and general fund budgets. Also, proposed changes to Alabama's immigration law. WVUA's Daniel Sparkman is in Montgomery, and he joins us now live with the latest. Daniel.
Topics during this whole legislative session has of course been the state's new immigration law, which some are calling the toughest in the country. Now today the state Senate took up a House bill that actually changes some of the wording in the existing law to make it a little more clear. The amended bill would change several wordings in the existing immigration law to make some sense of some of those issues and make them a little bit more clear. The bill, which passed the Senate today, is currently being debated right now in the State House, and it also, another part of this bill actually makes it a requirement for law enforcement officers to issue a ticket or to make an arrest in order to verify a person's citizenship status. Now, senators on both sides of the aisle agree that an immigration law is necessary, but that's where the agreeing ends.
We need a verifiable immigration policy in Alabama and in America, but we do not need to make it illegal to take someone to church, because when we get to heaven, God ain't going to ask us if we got a green card or not. We're either going to be saved or unsaved.
We're mirroring, for the most part, federal law. And so those folks who want us not to do this, they have a real problem with what federal law is. If the federal government would just enforce it, the states wouldn't have to act on some of these issues. So.
And Philip, also going on here at the Alabama State House today were protesters outside. Now, actually, while this bill was being debated in the state Senate, outside of the Senate chamber, some protesters were singing folk songs, as well as outside of the State House. 7 protesters were actually arrested today and charged with disorderly conduct and obstructing governmental operations. They're being held in the Montgomery County Jail on $500 bond. Now, coming up tonight at 10, we'll have a full wrap of today's final day of the legislative session and possibly some decisions on the state's 2 budgets. Reporting at the Alabama State House in Montgomery, Daniel Sparkman, WVUA News.
All right, thank you, Daniel. And as you just said, we will have much more live from Montgomery coming up tonight on WVUA News at 10. Now, in your home team Crime Watch, new details on a Tuscaloosa County murder investigation. The suspect will soon have a court hearing, and court records show the couple involved had a history of domestic violence. As we have reported, 30-year-old Tracy Grissom is facing murder charges in connection with the death of her ex-husband. This happened Tuesday morning at Binion Creek Boat Landing on Highway 43 North. The sheriff's office says Grissom told authorities that she pulled into the parking lot to take a picture for a pending civil case. When Hunter Grissom saw her, she says he gave her a mean look, also an obscene gesture. That's when Grissom says she shot him. Now, Grissom bonded out of jail on yesterday, and authorities say a preliminary hearing will take place in a few weeks. Then the case will be presented to a grand jury. Now, court documents show the couple filed for divorce in the year 2005, but dropped the action 2 months later. Documents also show the couple eventually divorced in the year 2010. And law enforcement officials also tell us Tracy Grissom filed charges against Hunter Grissom for sodomy, rape, and imprisonment during the year of 2010. Of course, few details are known about the circumstances surrounding the shooting, but the couple's court history does put a spotlight on the issue of domestic violence. WVUA's Jennifer Edwards talks with some experts now on the issue of domestic violence.
The relationship of a domestic violence victim to their abuser usually started off at a very good place. We know that most relationships don't start off with violence immediately. They usually start off with some control methods, but that may escalate into the things that we more typically identify as domestic violence.
Executive Director of Turning Point Services, Catherine Bridgers, says statistics show that a victim of domestic abuse will go back to their abuser 5 to 7 times before they sever ties completely. Paige Miller with the University of Alabama's Women's Resource Center says sometimes the victim thinks the pros of staying with an abuser outweigh the cons.
You can think of it sort of like a scale, if you're weighting a scale. You know, if you have children, if you don't have any financial means, then you may think, okay, well, I'm in an abusive relationship, but I do have a roof over my children's head. If I moved out, I may not be able to provide for my children. And so I can put up with abuse as long as my children have a home.
Bridgers says if you're the victim of abuse, it's important to get help immediately. And if you know of someone being abused, you should report it. But remember, it may not be easy.
The truth is that until that victim is ready to seek services, there's not really much that we can do except be supportive, except disseminate the information and let people know that there are alternatives, and most importantly, to give people hope that there's a way out.
According to Bridgers and Miller, domestic violence can continue once a victim leaves his or her abuser, but to remember, help is always available. Reporting in Tuscaloosa, Jennifer Edwards, WVUA News.
And for more information or to get help regarding domestic violence, you can find a link to the Turning Point Services website through our website. That's WVUATV.com, or you can call Turning Point at 758-0808. Now, new at 6, new storm shelters are on the way for Tuscaloosa County. Today, the County Commission approved a bid to build 6 storm shelters near local public work sites. These new shelters will replace existing facilities that were not built specifically for severe weather purposes. County Engineer Bobby Hagler says today's decision was all about worker safety.
If a tornado hits or anything, they don't have a safe place to go. It would just provide a close, convenient place to go, you know, to escape the storm.
And no timetable has been announced for the construction of this project. Now,